Awesome. I want to welcome everyone to another installment of Tuesday Night Live. Tonight's going to be super exciting. We got some amazing guests to talk about campus ministries and student life. So I know a lot of you have been excitedly anticipating tonight. You've been asking questions for the last couple of weeks about, res life and chapel, and you have all kinds of questions. And I know our content speakers tonight are super excited. I'm going to let them introduce themselves here in a second. But as we start out every Tuesday Night Live, live from Huntington, it's Tuesday night. A couple of housekeeping rules for tonight. Make sure that you keep yourself muted with your video and chat, or video and voice, specifically your voice, if anything, just so that we can make sure that we get through the speakers efficiently and that they can speak properly and that it can be communicated to you properly. We'll also, I just want to start off. My name is Quentin Graves. So if you have not seen me on the videos or don't know who I am, I graduated from Huntington in January, which is super exciting. So I know many of you, and some of you are actually prospective students of mine, which I love. I'm super glad you're here. I'm an admissions counselor here. I recruit students from the Huntington, J. Adams, and Wells County here in Indiana, and then every state besides Ohio and Michigan. But I am going to let, we have many other staff actually on the Zoom tonight for Tuesday Night Live, and I just want them to introduce themselves here in a second. But also let me jump back to one thing real quick. When we get to the Q&A section, and during the content, if you would like to ask any questions, feel free to send those questions through the chat option through Zoom, whether to everyone, to me privately, or you can also send them to Nick Kite, who will be introducing himself in a second. But you can find that name on there as well if you don't know who he is until then. And if you want to send us chats, we will make sure to get those questions answered during the Q&A session, but feel free to ask those at any time. We would hate for you to forget your question. So Nick, if you'd like to introduce yourself real quick for everyone.
Yeah, hi, good night, everybody. It's good to see everybody here today, and thanks for joining us. Super excited to have you all here. As Quentin said, I'm going to help just with some of the collecting questions. So if you have any tonight about campus ministries, chapel, residence life, student life stuff, I would love to see those, and I'll make sure that those get to Quentin so we can make sure that those get addressed. And I'm an admissions counselor here at Huntington. So hope everyone's having a great summer and look forward to seeing you all here on campus again in just a few weeks.
Awesome. Arthur, would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Arthur Wilson, and I am the Dean of Spiritual Life and the campus pastor at Huntington University, entering my 11th year. This moment for me, I got to be honest with you, is quite emotional because it's been a long time since I've been able to engage an audience of students this large. So I'm excited for the opportunity to share with you about some of the things we're going to be doing here in the fall semester through campus ministry. So I'll be talking to you shortly.
Awesome. Thanks, Arthur. Amanda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I can do that. So my name is Amanda Morris Campbell, and I am the assistant campus pastor for student discipleship. I asked Arthur to make sure I did it right, and I still screwed it up. It's a new title, so I'm still tripping over it. I graduated from Huntington in 2019, also in 2016. So I've been around for a while, but just a couple of weeks in the most recent role working with the CMCs. So I'm hoping to answer some of those questions and talk a little bit about the new weird shapes that's going to take this year. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. Brian, would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Absolutely. Brian Jaworski, Dean of Students, and with that, help oversee housing residence life, as well as student activities, student care, and student conduct. So this is going to be my 4th year at the Huntington University.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. And then Adam, would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. I'm Adam Skiles. I am the Chief Information Officer at Huntington University, so I oversee all information and technology services for all our locations. I've been at the university just finished my 7th year. So love this place and love these people. So good to see y'all.
Adam's the guy you need to give a big pat on the back because over the last couple of months. He's the one that's making all the technology work smoothly. So that guy deserves anything that he wants at this moment. Super cool. We're going to get started now. And I'm going to kick it off and just let Arthur take over. I know that he has some stuff talk about campus ministry, and then going through that content area. And then when they are through with their content, we'll go over to the Q&A. But like I said, feel free to send me any questions anytime, so you don't forget your questions. So Arthur, you want to take it over?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You know, Brian, when we introduced ourselves and we added Dean, to our title, I thought to myself, wow, the two bald guys are deans. Is it something about being a dean that makes you lose your hair? I don't know. But hey, folks, it's once again, I'm just so thrilled to be able to share with you today. And I created a PowerPoint so that I could stick to my script. Because if you know anything about preachers, we tend to get off script very easily. So if you bear with me here briefly, I'm going to pull up this PowerPoint. Hopefully you all can see it. Okay, let's see. Is it on everybody's screen? If one person can say yes, is it?
It's good. Looks good, Arthur.
It's good? All right. All right. So let's get into this. So let's talk a little bit about what our institution's commitment to your spiritual growth looks like. I want all of you to know right off the bat that your spiritual life is vital to every person who is employed at the university. We know that, this year and many years thereafter, depending on where you are in your academic journey, you're going to get a fantastic education. We have many well-qualified and equipped faculty members and staff members who are going to serve you well. And we want you to learn so much that you can go out and change the world. But we understand that a part of that that will help is to make sure that we're doing our best to provide you with opportunities to grow spiritually in amazing ways. So that's a priority to us. And regardless of all of the things that we're facing today, right? There's a lot of adversity in the world. And we're encountering a lot of that. We want you to know, as you think about coming to HU here shortly, that our commitment to providing you with the high quality spiritual programs, experiences, and trustworthy relationships remains firm. A lot of times in the midst of adversity, I'm being honest. I mean, you have a decision to make. Do you embrace the opportunity and go head first into it, or do you run away from it and think about all the reasons why it's going to not go well? We in Campus Ministries have chosen to take a positive outlook on this. I think that this is almost a divine opportunity for us to become very creative in terms of how we help support your development as people who are created in the image of God. And although, we're going to have to adapt to how we kind of engage each other from a social distancing perspective, our commitment to providing you with healthy relationships that you can trust and depend on, we're not wavering on that. So what are some of the things that you should anticipate as you come to HU for this fall semester, whether you're a new student or you're a returning student? I think some of this information will be good for you to hear. So let's get to what you really want to know. Credits. But before we dive into that, I want to tell you that the majority of programs and services that are provided through the Office of Campus Ministries this year will be offered virtually. So what does this mean? It means that chapels, small groups, devotions, many CMC programming, and pastoral care appointments will be offered through Zoom and other virtual platforms. I think you're going to be impressed with some of our opportunities that we have virtually. Adam Skiles will briefly touch on Right Now Media and all the things that can do for our small group programming and other services as well. So don't panic. I know that you all who have been at HU before, you're used to having a plethora of opportunities to earn the 30 credits. And probably in the midst of this virtual kind of chapel or spiritual formation experience, you might wonder, how could we continue the tradition of providing effective quality programming so that students can be very proactive in accomplishing that goal. I believe we have a plan. And as I've done the math, you know, there will be about 4 to 5 opportunities per week for you to engage in various spiritual programming and activities that will offer credits. And so if you're a student who's very intentional and proactive about making sure you hit that number, you should be able to get there easily, I believe, by the midpoint in the semester. So we thought about that very deeply and intentionally and wanted to make sure that we provide you with more than enough opportunities to reach the 30. And if for some reason that's an issue for you as you think about your schedule, whether you have a heavy course load or you have work responsibilities to help finance your journey at HU, we do have means and ways to adjust your expected credit count. We have forms online through the Office of Campus Ministry that you can fill out to ask for reductions. So we have those opportunities as well. One of the things that's going to be different for students who have participated in our spiritual formation programs, AKA getting chapel credits, is you're used to having an ID card and having it scanned by one of our chapel scanners. Well, you might want to get your tissues ready because that is changing, and it's changing in good ways. We're going after this app called I Attended app. So since most of the credits that we're offering for the fall semester will be obtained by, you know, you engaging our virtual services, programs, activities, we've decided to switch to a mobile app called I Attended. And what's awesome about this app is that it will be able to track the time that you spend engaging the online content. It will be able to provide you with your credit. And it also provides you with an instant update about your credit status via your mobile device or your laptop computers. And so those tiresome experiences of waiting for an email or for a response from the Office of Campus Ministries, you actually have access, instant access to your numbers. So to participate in this new method of tracking your engagement and your credits, you'll have to download the app on your mobile device or your computer and register on the HU account. And so what we're going to do is during the month of August, the Office of Campus Ministries is going to contact you via email. We'll probably send some announcements through our social media outlets too, to provide you with information about how to download the app and register before the start of the semester, because it is mandatory that our students who are getting credits participate through this tracking system. And Adam knows a lot more about the technical details. I'm not a tech guru, but I am just honored to be able to say we found something that I think is going to help improve our efficiency and accuracy in our reporting. And I think you'll find it to be a benefit as well. So as you watch and engage virtual spiritual services, programs, experiences, you're going to access that through I Attended, who has an embedded code that gives you credit through that app. So it's phenomenal. It's amazing. And I look forward to, you know, sharing more information with you on that at a later time. So we're calling Chapel this fall, Chapel 2.0, because we're shaking it up a little bit. And we have to, because we're in this virtual world now. So although COVID-19 has presented its challenges, it has also provided opportunities, I believe, for the university to enhance the chapel experience for our community. I think that it's in times like these where I think relationships are essential. I think it's very important for students to be really invested and poured into by the men and women who serve them day in and day out. So we are excited about the opportunity of connectivity. And I want you to know, one of the things that I've been intentional about this summer is making sure that the majority of speakers and presenters who will give us messages will be members from our community. And not just the main HU campus in Huntington, but since we are all online and have an opportunity to engage chapel virtually, we want to connect all of our locations. And so we want to hear from our great faculty and staff who serve at our Fort Wayne OTD program. We want to hear from the fantastic men and women who serve students in Peoria, Arizona. I already have some confirmations, and I'm excited. And even students will also play a part in ministering the Word of God through this format. Our CMCs will host virtual chapel watch parties to engage peers in conversations while the chapel message is going. And then during the weeks where we have some special emphasis, we're going to be hosting some evening digging deeper Q&As with the chapel speakers and presenters, because we want you to have an opportunity to be able to dive deeper in some issues that are really, really crucial. You all know it doesn't take long to be on social media or to be watching the news. There's a lot going on in our world. And we know at Huntington, that's the world that you are being called by God to go out and impact for his kingdom. So I want you to know that this semester, we're not running from these issues. We understand that these issues are essential and they mean something, not just to you, but to many people who God is calling us to impact. And so we're going to spend more time having healthy conversations and dialogue about things that are very important. Here's something you may get excited. If you had a bill, I'd say ring it right now. So the duration. We understand that, as we adapt, not just through campus ministries, but even in some of your academic classes, in some of your extracurriculars, and you're going to be doing a lot virtually. You may have a lot of Zoom meetings and things. And I know Zoom fatigue is real. I tried to get a prescription from my doctor for Zoom fatigue. He declined me, but he didn't deny that it wasn't something that is actually real. You might get tired of doing things virtually. I'm a very personable guy. I like seeing faces in front of my face, not on a screen. And so I understand the struggle. But in light of that, I want you to know that the length of the virtual chapels has been reduced from our typical 45 minutes to 30 minutes. We're still going to have some awesome worship that is God-centered, God-focused, and God-honoring. And we're also going to have sound biblical preaching and teaching. And one of the things I'm excited about the biblical teaching and preaching is I'm one of those speakers, and maybe if you've heard me before, you can agree. Hopefully you agree with this. I like to get straight to the point. And that's what we're challenging our speakers and presenters this year. As we do the virtual thing, hit us straight to the point, head on. Let's dive into it as quickly as possible, because we don't have a lot of time to really waste time. And so in this new format, we are still going to air the pre-recorded services at 11 a.m. That's a new time change from what we used to do. It used to be at 10. It'll be at 11. And, if you can't chime in at that 11 o'clock time, don't worry. The links through iAttended app for those particular chapels is going to remain active for up to a week after they air, so that you can engage the content and get your credit. So that should be good news to most of you as well. I know that praise and worship is really near and dear to many students' heart. When we evaluate the whole spiritual formation, outreach, and opportunities that we provide students, all the time, praise and worship chapels are rated highest. And I understand and appreciate the connection that we as a body of believers get to have and share in that moment of lifting our voices together to glorify God. It is, for me, in so many ways, a stress reliever. And I know that for you, during this nice, exciting journey, there are moments where things can get a bit rough. And praise and worship gives us an opportunity to release some of the pressure and tension that we have. And so although we can't gather in the fall inside the MCA auditorium for these services, we're committed to providing you with some outdoor worship opportunities that will allow us to lift our voices together while practicing safe social distancing. So we see and understand and know the value that worshiping together has on our community. And I am so excited that we get to take it outside, hopefully have some bonfires and distance ourselves so that the whole neighborhood around us knows that even in the midst of pandemic and many different kinds of unrest in our nation, there is still a remnant of people who are willing to lift their voices to God, understanding that He is the solution for many of the issues that we're seeking solutions to. I want to touch finally before Amanda shares is I want to touch on relationships. I want you to know, and hopefully those of you who have been students, you have sensed this. Without relationships, the process of helping students' spiritual lives remain healthy, it gets difficult. And we highly value the role that relationships have in your lives and in the process of your growth and development. And although we got these face masks that we got to wear, and if you have a beard or a goatee like I do, you understand the itch thing. It's real. So I'm looking for some creative solutions to that. But we got face masks, we got social distancing, we got virtual programming. It's going to be the new normal for our experience for God knows how long. But we're, through the Office of Campus Ministry, we're still committed to engaging you in trustworthy, Christ-honoring relationships. This isn't a time where we're saying, hey, I know life is rough, but hey, what can we do? We can't really see you face to face. No, we still want that connection. We still want to be there, present with you as you go through the various experiences at HU. And so we're still committed to doing small groups. And, you know, we might not be able to sit around in tight circles, but we have amazing resources at our disposal that will allow us, even virtually, to provide you with a worthwhile experience where we might have never had those kind of opportunities before. And so we're approaching a lot of these things with optimism. I'm excited about the opportunity that small groups will provide for many of your faculty and many of your staff who you respect and value, or will learn to respect and value as they engage you. This is going to be their opportunity. You know, the days of, hey, it's all on the Office of Campus Ministries and we got this chapel, we can bring in outside speakers, man, that's challenging. So it's time to encourage and champion our true shepherds, which are some of your amazing faculty and staff, to say, hey, here are opportunities for you to connect with students. So students will be offering small groups, our CMCs will be doing that, but also many people who teach and lead at the university. Then pastoral care appointments. I love talking, I love listening, I love understanding the stories of students. Amanda, who was briefly introduced to earlier, you know, she's has her master's in counseling, and so counseling is at the center and core of her heart. We have so many people within our office and across the campus who care about you, and we want you to know that. We're not just here to check some box on a list saying, yeah, well, I said hi to so-and-so today. No, when we ask you, hey, how things are going, we really want to know how they're going. And we understand and value how important having safe spaces to be able to talk about things that are going on or have happened in your life, how important they are. And so we still are providing pastoral care appointments, which give you confidentiality in these sessions as well. And we want you to know we want you to engage us in these kind of appointments. Don't ever assume that you asking for a meeting, even if it has to be virtually, is asking for too much. This is what you deserve. And so some of us will become creative. You know, as long as the weather's good, I know I want to take some appointments outside where we can sit across from each other 6 feet with our mask and we can enjoy some of that nice fresh air, because I'm going to need that. Maybe we can sip some lemonade or coffee. But I want you to know that we're trying to do our best to that, to support you. And with that, Amanda Morris-Campbell is here to talk a little bit more about how the CMC outreach is going to look. And so with that, I will turn things over to her. And after she is done, you will hear from Brian Jaworski.
Thanks, Arthur. So I know some of you on the call are incoming students, and you might not know what CMCs are. So I'm going to talk about that like real quickly. CMCs are students who work on our individual residence halls floors to engage with their friends, their peers, in their spiritual life. We kind of jokingly tagline, like, we are your professional friends, or we are people who are committed to loving Jesus, loving ourselves, and loving our community well. And that does not stop being true just because we have to do a lot of things virtually now. Relationships are still at the very, very center of what it is that we are passionate about and what our goals are. So that's still the most central part of what we're doing. We're going to get really creative with programming. Arthur alluded to some of that earlier, and CMCs have already gotten an email from me of like, this is going to be weird. We're going to figure it out together. But those things in between programs are still what CMCs are mostly about, which is to love the people on their floors. And the ways that that's going to happen will change, but the central mission does not. So one of the things that goes along with that is we want you guys to know that your CMCs, and myself included, and Arthur as well, are here to be a safe place for you, to be a sacred place for you. And whatever chaotic things are happening, whether that's related to COVID or stuff going on in the country or stuff going on in our community, or just stuff that's happening in your personal world, questions you have about faith, politics, social issues, all of those things. There are no bad questions. There are no wrong questions. There's nothing we will not talk to you about. We want to invite you into that space. And like Arthur said, mental health stuff is a really big part of what we do in Campus Ministries. We are so always going to direct you to the Counseling Center for extra help, but we want to help be that front line for you if you are unsure or if you think you need help. And that still is true, even in the midst of something really strange like the current moment we're experiencing. So all of that is a prelude to say programming is still happening. There will still be weekly CMC programming like floor worship. What shape that's going to take, I'm not 100% sure, because we are still figuring it out. CMCs are weighing in on that, what they would like to see. Arthur and I are trying to get creative. Arthur mentioned we are going to do watch parties for chapel so that you can participate in the chapel experience with people on your floor through Zoom and other things. We are also going to put a lot of focus on smaller groups. We had a lot of students in the past meet, like we'll do floor worship one week and then we'll do the small group the next week and kind of flip-flop back and forth. And we're going to kind of push that model a little bit more than we have in previous years, just so that you guys can be in like smaller chunks and you're not in a big mass Zoom call, which is nobody's favorite thing. Even though this is really fun, not normally something you want to spend a lot of time doing. So we're going to try and break off into smaller sections. And then the other piece is we're going to focus a lot on doing a lot of things outdoors. If you can be praying for something, for my particular area, we want to pray for a really nice, warm, long fall. That would help us a ton. We are looking to do some like outdoor worship things, do bonfire nights, do a lot of combined stuff with different halls and different floors to kind of mix groups up, but still remain socially distanced and all of that. So that's one of the big things that we're going to spend a lot of energy on, is spending some time outside. And that goes as well for, Arthur mentioned pastoral care appointments. That's something Arthur and I are both available for and are excited to get back to doing. I got emotional today thinking about students being back on campus and getting to see you all again. So please don't ever feel like you can't come and ask for those meetings. Send us an email. We may do that through a window, or we may do that walking around campus with our masks, or we might do it over Zoom, but we want to be here for you. So whatever ways that can happen, please ask, and we will try to offer as many options as we can. So I'm sure there are other things I could touch on, but hopefully you guys have questions and you can ask them and I will do my best to answer. But for now, I will toss things over to Brian.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda and Arthur for sharing. And do I have control of the screen? I think I do. So I too want to share with you my excitement of finally having students back on campus. It was, if you're a returning student, March was unlike anything we've ever experienced. And so to say goodbye to students so abruptly without the goodbyes and the opportunities to end the year well felt like a void. And so just today, I started kicking out information to returning students and student athletes about the fall. And there too was an excitement of finally being able to begin to turn the page and look for you all returning back to campus. So like Arthur, I'll start kind of like at the 30,000 foot level and maybe try to zoom down a little bit. But talk about, when we think about student life and student programming, there's a lot of similarities between what Arthur has talked about and Amanda to what I will. But there's going to be some things that just don't change, right? The commitment to robust student life programming. So I'll be interested to see what questions you have related to student life program, but it will still happen. If anyone knows anything about me, I bleed student life programming. In fact, I spent my dissertation examining the role of resident assistants and to the contribution that they can have to student success. And so student life programming is near and dear to my heart, and that will be something that still occurs in the fall. So there's a commitment to for you to experience the Forrester family. I have told the RD staff back in May that the spotlight on the residential student experience is more than ever before, right? We are trying to open because we know the uniqueness and the powerful contributor that having our community gather as learners and what it does to the robustness and the unique experience that is Huntington University. And so lastly, what's going on here? Yep. The commitment to balance your safety and the full collegiate experience, right? So there's going to be things that, as Arthur and Amanda already alluded to, social distancing and doing some things either virtually. I was talking with our good friend Lauren, who oversees our student activities board, a few weeks ago. And she had a line that's kind of really resonated with me. So we're going to try to keep things as normal as possible, and when abnormal, as special as possible. And I think that really captures kind of what we're trying to do, as well as kind of balance making sure that you're safe and you're well, that we can finish the fall semester well. And a lot of this, to be quite transparent with you, is in the hands of the student, right? So sometimes in my meetings with students, I talk about, license versus prudence, right? There's things that you can do, but not necessarily things that are beneficial for you to do, right? I think that's going to be more at play this semester. So while you certainly are free to go to the movie theater, would it be the most beneficial thing and most prudent thing for you to do, and then come back into the HU community? And that's going to be more so. I know that the coaches and the athletic department will continue to preach that type of message, but again, kind of getting back to this message, we want to balance our commitment to your safety as well as offering you the full collegiate experience that is, and why we're trying to open and do all these things to bring you back to campus. So that's kind of the 30,000 foot level. There are a lot of things that we are still trying to figure out. Those are our commitments. Again, as I talked with Lauren a few weeks ago, yes, and I would say the same thing as Amanda. We'd pray for good, warmish weather. August can be August in Indiana, and maybe a little bit of September. So if you pray for like 72 degrees until you leave in November, that would be awesome. Because we do a lot of activities outdoors, right? Even our student activities board does a lot of things outdoors. And so, Lauren and I went through our calendar. We're looking at all the different activities that we tend to do on a year-to-year basis. And like, there's more that we're going to do than not do. There might be, a hand washing station here and there, but we're still going to do some things. And again, getting back to those commitments of student life programming and for you to experience the uniqueness that is Huntington University. So another thing I get to oversee is student housing. This may generate some questions for you. It's going to come in a different kind of ways. If you are a new student and you are involved in an athletic team that participates in its sport either in the fall or the winter, you should have received an email from me today. And you are scheduled to arrive on either August 13 or 14 now. That is based on a schedule that was reserved and kind of really figured out by your coach. And so we're going to ask you to really hit that 2-hour block that your coach reserved for you. So those are our new students, as well as our returning students, that if your sport falls in the fall or winter, that you'll be arriving during those 2 days. There are a select number of student leadership positions, RAs, Friesen Center, a theater group, and Joyful Noise will be back at this time period too. But if you're not involved in athletics, and then will be scheduled to arrive on August 27th. I've listed kind of those times. The information will be forthcoming for you to kind of sign up, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But we're going to ask each student to kind of hit one of those 3 blocks, so that in the meantime we can clean and get in and do some of those high touch services. So new students, those athletics, those that are not involved in athletics, August 27th. And I believe Nick is pushing out that information to our new students as well. If you're a returning student with us, your process looks like that, August 29 and August 30. Those are the times available for you. And again, my email to you hopefully will be forthcoming in the next couple of days. I think the only thing group that I haven't hit on, maybe CMCs, are arriving August 26th. Our Alpha group leaders are also arriving August 26th, as is SGA exec and our SAB members. So when you arrive, we're utilizing Sign Up Genius as the tool in which you kind of log on. All those 2-hour time windows that I've just described are kind of an RSVP type of selection in which you log on to the website. Now, again, if you're a fall or winter athlete, that process has already been done for you. There's nothing for you to do, whether you're a new student or returning student. We've already done that for you. But otherwise, you're going to be given kind of 2 hours to complete the move-in process. And we're going to ask that at most you have 2 guests with you, and those are going to be defined as non-students, right? So your mom, your dad, but no more than kind of 2 kind of in your residential space. And obviously when you come, if you could wear a mask when you're going to and from kind of the residential space, as well as making sure that your guests are symptom-free and feeling well. Of course, when you're in kind of the residential space of the room, you can certainly feel free to take off the mask. And like I said before, the reason why we're kind of implementing this process is that we're going to go in between those times and make sure that we're cleaning those high touch areas so that we can be ready to go for the next group. So yeah, Sign Up Genius is the tool in the process. Each student will be given the opportunity to log on, and you know, it's a lot of fun on my end to try to orchestrate over 600 students arriving to campus. And so if you could just, you know, be mindful of that. Of course, the tool will allow you to change your times if you'd like. That's kind of the process that we have developed just to kind of balance your safety as well as the kind of congestion of the arrival process. And then again, once you kind of come to your residence hall, that's where we're going to ask you to go to. All the kind of check-in paperwork, we're trying to facilitate your student IDs that you've been sent information to kind of upload your picture already so that your student ID can be ready for you to go, your parking pass, all that stuff will be ready to go in your room. If you're a new student, you will notice that you have not been assigned a room number. Of course, I know what room number you're going to be in, but during the summer months, some things can change. But when you come in, especially for new students, you will be giving your room number at that time, and you'll be directed right to go in and begin to take care of all that check-in paperwork. And I think that's it. Thank you, Quentin.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. Super cool. Awesome. We are going to go now to the Q&A session. So I know I had a couple questions kind of come in here, but feel free to send in questions to either me or Nick Kite or the chats feature for everyone. Also wanted to make a note, Nick Kite actually posted in the chat area that new students, your email actually went out at 6 o'clock. So get on there and sign up for your times to move in, which is super exciting. It happened right when Brian actually said it. So it's like crazy at the same time, but that's awesome. So a couple, number one question, this is for Brian specifically, Olympiad question mark. Is that still something that we're wanting to continue? And what's that going to look like if we know?
That's a great question. Of course, I think when I use that line from Lauren about making things as normal as possible, and when needing to do abnormal as special as possible, that probably applies more to Olympiad than maybe some of our other programs. And so certainly we are looking at some of the events and what we do. The plan certainly is to still offer Olympiad. Now what that looks like, again, I think if you look at what is happening, social distancing and mask wearing, those things are going to be really tied together. And so can we do a lot of the things we do? We really think we can. But once we get those people back on campus, help plan and facilitate that, that's when kind of the rubber will meet the road. But certainly the plan is still to go through with Olympiad.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. And another question for you that just came in. What are the plans for open dorms?
Yeah, that's another great question, and one that I don't know has been decided. Again, I think, like I said before, the helping all of us as a community finish this semester well is really in the hands of all of us, and so to be mindful of your travels and your social activities and whatnot, and what that looks like. And so as more information is decided upon, I would probably direct students to our website and to the COVID-19 tab, for further updates related to specific campus policies. But I know that those things are still being decided upon. And like everything, COVID-19 seems to be like the weather, right? You give it 5 minutes and it seems to change. And so we want to make sure the policies that we put in place are kind of reflect kind of where we're at as a society and with the virus.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Another great question out there. It's getting pushed up there a little bit. Will activities like Undignified, Trubs, those different clubs and organizations, will those still be happening as normal? Are they just going to be the same kind of idea, like social distancing and mask, or is there kind of a different plan for those?
Yeah, I'm not sure of my ability to get into the nitty gritty of some of those things. I think what we've talked about is that kind of that framework of, social distancing and mask wearing and how that applies to specific things, will be determined.
Okay, awesome. Then let me get through here. And I think we kind of touched this, and I think I just remember it from a past Tuesday Night Live, but I will bring it up still. It's a question about traveling off campus. I believe that the idea is like we highly suggest not to, but you were kind of talking about prudence a little bit and just kind of being mindful of other people we're living with, but it's not something that we're going to regulate. But if you want to speak a little bit on like traveling off campus, going to like Walmart or out to eat, different things like that, and coming back, there was a question about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, what you're kind of seeing is, I know like Walmart, either very recently, Walmart, Owens, which is our grocery store here in town. Owens will start tomorrow with mandatory mask wearing. Walmart's already started. I was in Starbucks today, and my wife and I were wearing masks. It's kind of like open the mask and then take. I made it really awkward. I'm not sure how they'll continue to do that. But I don't know. I think people are learning, as my children are, right, how to stay well, right? You need to wash your hands and be mindful of what you touch. And so I don't think there's any restrictions on, going to Walmart or Owens, but if you wanted to go to that Cubs game and, spend $350 to be on the rooftop to watch one of those games, that might need to be something that you might need to reconsider.
Awesome. And I think that goes well with another question. The specific person that's asking this asked privately, but I know that they're from a state that is fairly far away, but I don't want to give the person away, so I'm not going to give it too much. But if they live in a state pretty far away, and they have like a family event, would they have to quarantine when coming back into the dorms?
Not that I'm aware of right now.
Okay.
They're probably, again, our value, right, is for us to all be well together. The plan for quarantining is those that either symptomatic, have been exposed. There's a process that we are, further refining and developing. But at this point, I am unaware of that being a possibility, or a need, I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. And well, that's something that I always say this every Tuesday Night Live, but when Dr. Babb was here for the very first one, he made it very clear, and I always like to just reiterate it. This is a super fluid situation, but it's a time that I think that everyone's working really hard that we can have the best community and the best time in the semester that we can, and there's a lot of people working towards that. So I appreciate all the work that you, Brian, and Arthur, and Amanda, and everyone on here that is doing. Let me see. I'm going to jump over to a chapel question real quick before I go back to the student life. So,
man, I thought I was free.
Yeah, no, not yet, not yet.
Yeah, I'm just going to go now.
Don't go yet. Let me see if I can. And so someone just said, just to clarify, there will be no in-person chapel, but I think you mentioned possibly, Arthur, that maybe there might be some outside worship and some stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to just touch base on
that. So we will not be gathering in the MCA auditorium at all during the fall semester for chapel. We will try to provide some outdoor activities where we can practice social distancing for the purpose of prayer, worship, things like that.
Awesome. Thanks, Arthur. And then many questions on the dining commons. So jumping back to Brian a little bit.
Back to you, Brian.
Yeah. What are some rules that are associated with dining hall and eating? Most of the questions are how does that work, and how is that going to be different this year?
Yeah, I will probably need to sidestep this one a little bit, just because this is not an area that I know that we're still having lots of discussions and still developing plans, and we're working with our food service provider. And so sorry I couldn't give any more definitive answer, but as more information is developed, we're continuing to look at posting that to the website. And
Brian, if I can chime in too on that,
yeah, sure.
I can tell students that your SGA representative, they are engaging in this process and conversating and figuring out how to best serve you through that dining experience.
Yeah, I know, specifically speaking on that, I know the SGA has been working really hard. I talked to Ashley a couple times. Your guys' student body president, and being a past student body president, I really expect, and I'm super excited for what all SGA is doing. My heart goes out to them. This is such a hard year for them to be in those roles. So I just want to give them a virtual pat on the back right now for everything they're going to have to go through this year. But I know that they're working really hard with not just dining, but working really closely with everyone on campus to make sure that your voices are heard, and that your the things that you are anticipating, and that you're also well informed about what's going to happen as well. And so, if you ever see an SGA member, give them a high five or a elbow tap in this case. So awesome. Let me see if there's any more. Josh Wilson says thanks, everyone. So if you guys want to see another SGA rep. I do not have any more questions actually that came up. I'm just making sure I don't miss any, because I definitely don't want to. How will Arthur, you're not off the hook yet. How will chapels and events be advertised?
We'll use our social media outlets. We'll use email. We'll use coffee break, some of the traditional ways, but you'll see a lot more social media interaction for the announcements. So.
I think that is a great time for me to give this plug. I know you guys don't like to use coffee break. I've been in your shoes. I've been in your shoes. I understand. But please, 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 this year, out of any year, make sure you follow Coffee Break. Read it every morning. Read it. It's going to be your lifeline, I believe, throughout the semester. Like I said, being a past student body president, I know only like 25% of you may read that, but you should be reading that Coffee Break every day. It should be like you're an old man with some coffee in the morning newspaper, because it is so important. It's got so much information in it. So please, please, please be reading that. Awesome. Let me see. Oh, for Brian, what are the requirements for masks in the res halls?
Yeah, I was there have been some reopening protocols that have been posted on the website. So residential buildings face coverings are required prior to entering any common area, including those are lobbies, hallways, elevators, stairwells, laundry rooms, and walkways. And so that appears to be kind of anytime you step outside of your particular room.
And I think that's pretty par for the course for, I know there's a question that came in about classes. That came in about classes. This doesn't answer that directly, but I know for like when you're going to classes and stuff, we talked about this in the academic Tuesday Night Live, that going and traveling to your classes, masks will be required as well. And then when you get to that class, the professors will be in charge of that kind of mandate and deciding that. So something to keep in mind. There is someone that asked about classes. I don't know if any of you guys can speak to this. It's about classes specifically. If not, I can definitely reach out to Luke Fetters for this. But how will classes out that or classes that have to be inside, like, I'm actually not reading this question very well. How will classes? Oh, I'm thinking classes that are inside that may have to go outside that are larger, like animation classes. Was that something they're going to try, or do you guys possibly know that with some of your, like, just in talks with Luke?
Well, yeah, I can't say specifically what those measures are, but I can say that Luke has worked tirelessly to look at every class size, and what we have to offer. And we will have definite responses to how we're going to go about making sure the classes happen. So
Awesome.
those specific details might be forthcoming. Adam, you got more?
Yeah, specific to film and animation, I can speak to. We are looking at putting partitions between the computers in the film and animation labs to help, because we know social distancing is more difficult. So we are looking at doing partitions between stations to keep things a little bit more, I guess, safer with that respect. Obviously, masks in the classroom will certainly be one of the things that will most likely be very highly recommended. Also, things that we're doing is we're also working with a lot of our software vendors to help our students to be able to access their resources from their own personal devices. So if, as an example, let's say there's a student who needs to be quarantined or is not feeling well, then we are looking at ways for those software resources and other things that they need to be available to them that they can use on their personal devices. So we're going to try to find every way possible to make it a great experience and to still provide the great and wonderful resources we already do to our students in any fashion we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. Super cool. Oh, another question. I'm trying to think. Brian, you might be able to speak to this a little bit. I don't know if you have talked with Heather St. Peters at all, but there's a question about student jobs on campus. Is that going to look differently this year? Or I think, I don't know if you know anything directly with that.
I would say, there's still jobs to be done, and we have an open campus and things that need to occur, and so I haven't heard of any reduction in student labor force or jobs that need to be done. And so I know probably maintenance usually has a few openings and whatnot. So yeah, I think there would still be certain jobs to be had on campus.
Yeah, awesome. And I know that there's some jobs posted as well, and those will continue to post on the website. Just look up, if you go on the website, just look up student employment.
Yeah. I know, I can speak specifically, there has not been anything specifically mandated to the departments. And so most of the departments that have those open positions are given the liberty to make the decisions on how to handle their student employment. So as an example, in IT services, we're going to adjust some things a little bit, but mainly where a lot of those things are is just a change in protocols and how we have to do things and how things need to be done a little differently. And I think that's really probably no different than any other department, but it's really up to those departmental managers and supervisors to make a determination on what's, how things can be done, because obviously some of those jobs you used to do, you need to be done a little differently. And sometimes that may require a larger workforce, that may require an adjustment to that workforce, maybe even adjustment to scheduling. So this is going to be very, as we've talked about, fluid and flexible to some degree.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Awesome. There's a question about leaving campus to go home for some time. Is more of a specific situation, but I think I can speak to that as a whole, just kind of reiterating what Brian said a little bit. And Brian, you can add if I mess it up at all, but pretty much saying that, kind of going back to that, you can leave, you can go home, especially if you live closer, but just be mindful that you are leaving and coming back to a space where you're with living other people. And so that's something to keep in mind. And, you have to use your better judgment. And also I want to use that word of empathy and sympathy for others. You got to step in their shoes and what do you want to bring back to the people that you love in your community? Brian, did I hit the nail on the head with that response a little bit?
Yeah. And, I've been mindful of where and who I've traveled with. I've still seen my folks in Michigan, right? So you just need to be, mindful of the spaces and the places that you put yourself in. So I think you did a great job, Quentin.
Super cool. Any other questions you guys want to, if you guys have any more, slip them in real quick.
Yeah, I'm sure Arthur probably needs a few more.
Yeah.
Now I got some good chicken that I'm smelling. So
I actually, right when you said that, there one popped up. Will the app be able to track the floor worships and the sport team devos?
Yes.
Simple enough.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And if not, just blame Rachel. No, that's a joke. But yes, they will be able to.
Okay, awesome.
And once we're able to actually be together physically, you'll be able to scan with your mobile devices the barcode that'll be presented that will instantly give you credit and track all that stuff for you. So you're in good hands. Awesome. And we got a great IT department that can help us navigate through some of that stuff too. Yeah. Right, Adam?
You better believe it, brother.
And I think that's another thing. I'm kind of jumping back to the year. Man, I feel like I'm jumping back to all these roles back when I was a student, but back to when I was an RA and a lot of students were moving in. During those first couple of days, new students and current students, there's going to be a lot of different changes, as you know, like there's a new app and all these things. Feel free to connect with your RA and your CMCs to see, what, if you are missing like this app. Well, I never heard of an app. You're going to have friends that probably say that because they didn't get to see this video. And so they're going to need some help to get those chapel credits this semester. So feel free to reach out to them and always reach out to your RAs and CMCs if you need things. Super cool. Awesome.
One final item I know Arthur alluded to a little bit is Arthur mentioned Right Now Media, and that's something that he and I kind of partnered with a little bit to offer as a resource to students and employees and also alumni. But we have purchased basically a subscription to Right Now Media, which provides over 26,000 resources to our students for kind of spiritual development. Covers many manner of topics, all biblically based. A lot of great speakers, a lot of great thinkers, a lot of great biblical, thought leaders and whatnot. And so this is a resource that there will be an email coming out probably sometime in August or the first part of the semester to our students on how to access that resource. And this is a resource, again, you'll have from this point on until as long as we keep it, and even as you're an alum, you can continue to use this resource for yourself personally, for any small groups you may be part of, or also even with your families when you do happen to visit at home. So this is going to be a great resource we felt would be a great thing to add to just the great repertoire of what Amanda and Arthur are already going to be doing.
Thanks, Adam. We did have one more question, kind of zoom in for Brian. There's actually been a few questions about this, but this one kind of hits words at the best, so I want to make sure I run back to it. Will we be able to go in the halls? Will we be able to go to other floors of our hall? And I think even someone asked other halls, or will we be required to just stay in our own space?
Yeah, it wasn't until this I realized that this had been posted, so I'll post our residential student reopening protocols. That document will stipulate that we're going to ask students to not travel from residence hall to residence hall. So if you're in your particular residence hall, then that's, maybe classified as kind of like your little family. And then, that we'll put some stipulations on the ability of students maybe needing to and being able to maneuver from residence hall to residence hall. That won't be an option for this fall. And then probably another change is that will also include commuters not having access to residential spaces as well. And so whether utilizing the library for those things or, we'll just ask you to be, just go outside. So you can join us in praying for 72-degree weather through my birthday. And then after that, I think we should be good.
Awesome. Yeah, actually the question that just came in was about commuters. And so you touched base on that. And then also there was a question about open dorms again. And I think what we kind of said is that open dorms are still in discussion. And so we'll post about that when that kind of gets decided later on, which I saw. So if I live,
yeah, I saw it too, Quentin. And yeah, that is correct, right? So your hall, your space, anything else would not be available for the fall semester.
Thanks, Brian. Like I said, I know, and like many people have said, fluid and flexible. It's going to be a hard semester. That's why we're praying for that weather so that we can still spend time with each other in those areas. And it still doesn't take away from your hall or your floor as well. So you're going to be closer to your floor than you ever thought at this after the fall, which is great. That's a great experience. So. Yeah,
Quentin, can I chime in? And Arthur, you can feel free to speak to this as well, but recently Arthur, Dr. Eilers and I sat down and we thought through kind of like a theological and biblical response to COVID-19. Mm-hmm. I think that's where kind of some of this comes into play, right? To where love for other and care for self. So while I may feel like, and get back to that prudence versus license type of thing, I may feel like I can or should be able to do something like this. Is it prudent enough for a particular season for all of us to enjoy the robustness that is Huntington University and the campus experience? And that's what we're really trying to preserve. And so some of these things, especially I know the open hours and traveling to and from different residence halls can feel really draconian and sophomorish, but like we really need to be mindful of, just caring for our whole community so that we can all finish the semester well. And so it's not like, you can't not hang out with your friends. It just may need to look different. And I think we've all kind of experienced that the past few months, living in the, larger world, right? So you can go to, to Owens and Kroger, but now you're going to be asked to wear a mask. And so we're going to be hopefully posting some, discussion, prompts related to that what does it look like to have a theological or a biblical mindset related to COVID-19, and how this plays into love for another and love for my neighbor.
Awesome. Let me see. Okay, we had a couple more questions come in, of course, about the residence halls and leaving, and I guess just one more time for reiteration for everyone out there, just so that we know. The hall, no jumping, of course. Someone is curious, does that include the lobbies, or is it just residential areas?
Yeah, it's like, if you're in Wright Hall, you're in Wright Hall. And if you're in Roush Hall, then the Wright Hall lobby would not be available to you. So it used to be where your student ID card would give you access to a lot of different residence halls, and that has been rescinded, at least for the fall semester. And so yes, it'd be, your hall, your space, and everything else will need to be done kind of outside. And again, getting back to my third point, you're just trying to balance, right, the safety as well as the full collegiate experience. And so hopefully we'll weather this storm together, and we'll come out stronger. And I do think, things that will look different, there's incredible opportunities for those things to go over really, really well. Macro level community is always built on the smaller scale. And I think the opportunity for students to be known by a significant smaller number of students, like on your floor, that's really going to be an opportunity for my resident assistants to really partake, the CMCs to partake, and really build a really strong community from the ground up. And I think that's where the opportunity lies, and that's kind of what I get really excited for about the fall.
Awesome, thanks, Brian. I don't see any questions coming in, and I'm gonna cut it off there, actually, since we're getting really close. Since we're getting really close, I guess this is actually a really good question, so I really think that we should ask this, and it's for Arthur, so it's perfect.
My answer is chicken.
Chicken. This student wants to know, so will we be discouraged from finding an off-campus church this semester?
I would say no. I know many churches are working through their own protocols, and many are still doing virtual kinds of services. I know in Allen County, our health commissioner has given us certain parameters where I think we can't go over 50% capacity, and within those, people have to be distanced 6 feet. So I feel like as long as the church has some kind of protocols that are keeping you safe, so that you can keep your brothers and sisters at HU safe, we still want you to be engaged in local church community.
Awesome. So. Perfect. That's a great question to end on. So at this time, Amanda, I'm going to ask you, would you mind praying us out, since this is just a great time, and I know it's a hard time too. So would you mind praying us out, please?
Yeah, I can certainly do that. God, we thank you for space to talk about things that are hard, and to hopefully process some of the things that are going to change. God, I know we had to give hard news today, and I know our students who were listening had to receive that. God, as several of these people said today, I pray more and more for our empathy, for our compassion for each other, for grace and understanding, as we as staff and faculty and administrators try really hard to make tough choices and put protocols into place that are going to keep us safe and keep us together. We have to make choices that we're always not psyched about, or not always really psyched about, but we feel our best. And we know that those are hard for students to hear. And God, I pray for our student body as we get ready to come back together, that they can feel the hope that so many of us feel, that this can be a really redemptive experience on campus together, after such a strange ending last semester, to return to this place that we all love so much, to know each other and to know you better over the course of a strange semester is going to be an adventure. Lord, I thank you for the students who chimed in today, for their questions and their curiosity about what's happening. I pray a blessing of protection and peace over the students in this call, as well as the ones who will watch it later, and all of our community who is returning to our home. We thank you that you are doing work. You are doing lots of things that we can see and lots of things we can't see. And I pray that you would keep our eyes open and our hearts ready to join you in that work, whatever shape it's going to take next. Lord, we love you and we praise you. Amen.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. Actually, in the middle of that, I had this kind of thought, and I just want to say that during the semester, God's just going to be present. Like, I know he's going to be present, and that's such a big and important part that I think we tend to forget. But that's something to praise in the midst of all this chaos, that he's going to be there. And so excited to experience that, even if it's in a different way. So next week, Adam's going to come back to us, which is super exciting, to talk about a little bit of tech services and what that's going to look like. And then our final week, August 4th, don't remind me, I'm going to be so sad when this is done, will be Heather St. Peters and Erica Marshall talking about internships and student success. So thanks for joining with us, Huntington. We'll see you next week.